Wake up, get ready, time to shine, it's your day. Yeah. Join team together, making dreams come true.
My name is Matt Lowney. I lead the talent acquisition and field HR teams here at CoreCivic. And for those who might not know CoreCivic, we're the largest owner and operator of correctional facilities and reentry facilities in the country. We have about 12,000 employees. And, today, Dan introduced the idea of speaking at a conference. I thought about a few things. And one of those is this 4S model I've talked about for years and years. It's just at its core, the basic foundational skills I think every recruiter should have and more importantly, practice. So with that, I think at the end of the day, we're all very, very busy. And my contention is quite simple with this 4 S's. We'll get to that in just a second, is recruiting has gotten more complex. We spent our time doing a lot of different things, many of which are not recruiting related at all. And we got to this point where perhaps we've lost a little of that DNA that really makes recruiters in the first place. So a lot of these tools that we put into play that are supposed to make us more efficient really haven't quite matured to the point they have, right? We're still in this world, many of us, that we have 2 or 3 platforms to source on, to use HireEZ. We may have another that automates scheduling. We may have another that does something else, and they haven't really merged all these workflows yet. And so we end up chasing ourselves around. Heck, some of these CRM APS is still our CRM development. So I think about that's all coming. It doesn't matter if it is or isn't. This kind of the end of the world is coming for recruiters. I don't quite believe in. I think it gives us in this moment to really think about what value recruiters really bring to an organization. And I think part of that is to focus on the real skill set recruiters bring to the table, if you will. So that's kind of my preamble, is I want to make sure that through chaos and order, we can allow our recruiting homes to scale if we focus on the stuff that recruiters should be good at. So with that, you have this kind of model that I put together, and I think I've been working off of this statement now 15 years or so, but I say there's 4 S's that every recruiter should be good at, right? It's sales, sourcing, service, and selection. We should be doing a lot of other things, but 4, I think these are 4 you should be really good at. And it's also one of those that you got to have to continually practice what you do. I think as any person who's a professional in anything, we have to continue to carve out time to be purposeful around practicing. So I love quotes. If you were in my office, there's quotes all over the walls in here, but in particular, I like a couple of these, which is, Malcolm Gladwell, right? Said, practicing isn't the thing you do once you're good. It's the thing you do in order to get good. And I think most of us here have been recruiting for a few months to several years, and we got to be good at these things. And then, so at the end of the day, right, there's these 4 attributes, if you will, I think, of kind of good recruiting and good sourcing that kind of everybody needs to be practicing. So for me, those are, again, sales, sourcing, service, and selection. I'll spend a little time on each one of them in the next 2 slides, so there's not a whole lot of, I would say, they said keep these at 15 minutes now. I love the model of what you guys are doing, so we can power through, and then we'll share these out later. So those who are interested, we can do some follow-up on for sure. You guys can see my slide. I want to make sure when I didn't mess up all that. I didn't mess up my slides. So let's get into each one of those. We'll touch on them briefly, which is sales, right? I would think there's very few of us who would argue that sales and recruiting don't go hand in hand, right? We are all in some form in the business of sales, whether we are convincing candidates or hiring manager, whatever that is. But as we get into actually, I don't know if anybody's done this as a recruiting leader. It's a little, if you really want to mortify yourself, go record the conversation your recruiters have with candidates. And if you're, by the way, like to get better, record yourself doing it. And what you'll find is you talk a lot more than you realize you do. I have done this where you'll time it in the first 3 to 5 minutes of the phone conversation with a candidate is really just the recruiter talking at the candidate. And I know why they do it. They're excited. They want to be excited about the opportunity to get the candidate excited, but they're not engaging the candidate. So the very basic, right, is listen first. Listen to what they say. They will tell you what they're looking for if they're open to a new opportunity. Don't assume those things that are of interest to them. The second thing, and this is kind of sales 101, is objection resolution models. In fact, one thing we put together, Dan, is flashcards. I'm going to just start distributing these, which are really flashcards for overcoming objections that candidates have. But the first thing first is just validate the concern, right? Like, oh, the drive is too far. We don't want to go, yeah, but there's a faster way to do it. If you go, like, you totally disrespected their concern. So from a sales perspective, make sure that you actually validate. I hear you. I've had other candidates say that. And then you can kind of address their concerns. So just basic sales 101 there. The next, and this is really where I think comes to practice, right, is actually know what differentiates your role, your company, your organization. The answer is not competitive pay and benefits by definition. That is not a differentiator. But whatever you say, make sure it resonates with candidates. Continue to refine that message and understand what actually they care about, what resonates, what differentiates your message. Because your organization has something that's different about her, or at least I hope it does. And the other is, this isn't all about the one-call close. I think recruiters have been at it for a while, right? Look at this as a long play as far as relationships. So the person on the phone now may refer somebody. They may be a fit for another role down the road. But the key is the long play. It took me a long time, I think, as a recruiter, I think early in my career of, boy, I've got a role open. I've got to go find candidates. I've got to screen candidates and move on to the next role. And I would rarely kind of connect to, oh, yeah, I talked to this person 2 or 3 months ago. Wonder what they're up to now. Like, that just took some time to do. So I would say on the sales side, make sure we're listening, make sure we're practicing and validating concerns, and aren't simply debating with candidates. I could see recruiters do this time and time again, right? We just get in this world. We want to kind of convince them or cajole them into your point of view. So the next S, right, will be sourcing. And I think sourcing is unique because I know this is a sourcing-based route. But I also say it takes a lot of planning, and make sure you plan your time as a recruiter to intentionally put in sourcing. We all know that. We also know that tends to be the first thing people cut in their day if they're busy doing something else. So please protect that time. But also knowing you had limited time to source, particularly on the corporate side, is to make sure you are being purposeful around planning your time. So this isn't on here, but planning, but make sure you plan. The rest of this is about efficiency, right? So use your platform, the CRM, automate and scale your outreach. All these tools are built to do this. I'm not the trainer on that anyway. And the less of you look at it as, all right, so I'm on the phone with somebody, right? This is kind of the referral base is the warmer the introduction, the better. And that's really what the next three are. You can get introduced. If you can't, go leverage people in your network that, hey, I see you're connected with this person or that person. I really look at the last line of the fence is cold outreach and cold messages on email, phone call at this point. I'm not a real fan of LinkedIn messaging for lots of reasons, low reply rate, and, but that wasn't just a plug with HireEZ is hosting this thing. That has been my kind of foundational challenge with LinkedIn for a long, long time. So there's your first two S's, right? So we're in the sales business, we're in the sourcing business. The next is we're in the service business, right? I think we have got to acknowledge that at the end of the day, we serve a lot of audience, right? We serve hiring managers, we serve candidates. If we're a leader, we serve the folks on our team. We serve business leaders. And so you just have to accept that as part of your role. And part of that is being, and this isn't on the screen here, I think, but a real challenge I've seen with recruiters is it can be a really challenging gig, right? We're always on this kind of razor edge of emotion of wins and losses, candidates that hurt us down, and then you got a candidate you never thought would actually come to work for you. And it is a high burn effort. And I would discourage you doing that. I think the key here is be consistent. Every time you interact with a hiring manager, be the same person. Be kind of this either super positive, super neutral. That's kind of where I live. I'm very kind of even keeled, and I try to kind of maintain that interaction, that experience for everybody I work with and alongside. So the others, ask for feedback. People will give you feedback about how they interact with you if you ask them and you do it in a humble way and an honest way. You're not there to debate them. Just ask for their feedback. Hey, how I've been doing as far as getting to the right candidates, or how's my interaction with you, or have I been timely in my responses? And most people will tell you how that's going. The next two is just generally, you have some baseline measures. I think those of us in TA, we love data, we love numbers, we love dashboards. I spend most of my time Excel. It seems that anyway. But the fewer the better, right? I would say in terms of service, you could keep this down if you want to measure it through kind of pulse surveys, 1 or 2 things. Hey, when you make a hire, have a survey go to hiring manager and the candidate and guess in 2 or 3 questions, and you just anchor around fewer the better. I'd say that on most metrics, but certainly around service, you don't want to overbake this. You don't want to have action plans forever and always. This is just about getting honest feedback and timely feedback. And last is just don't assume that you are good at giving service. I will be the first to tell you that. We all think we're pretty, approachable, and I would say we're pretty good at being interactive and supportive of folks. I have woefully missed that with some of the folks I've supported over the years, and frankly got blindsided with folks I actually thought we were really crushing it, but you really really weren't. So just make sure there's some humility and understanding we are in service of it. The big deal. And the last S, right, is selection. We are in the selection game. And so as part of that is, how much influence do you have in the hiring decision with the ultimate hiring decision with the hiring managers? I think there's a lot of recruiters who don't think they have much say. That's been my experience. They lose a lot of opportunity to be seen much more as a partner if they can help the hiring manager navigate the last 2 or 3 candidates, or help have a counterpoint to why did you choose this person or why would you choose that person, particularly if you have hiring managers that are newer in their career, where they literally like to lean on years of experience, or they worked at this company, they must be great. Recruiters, we have such a skill set to be able to talk them out of making poor decisions and helping them make the right decisions for the right reasons. And I feel like we forget that. We're just processing machines, we're working through, we're getting 10 interviews, we're just moving into the next part of the process. The end goal, right, is at the end of the day, is to help our company hire better people. So, all 4 of these S's are all built to get you to the right end of hiring the right people for the right reason. And so, beyond the fact I feel bad that my audio has been a little shot here, and again, I know, Dan, you're going to share this out, and I'm happy to give it to anybody who wants to ask for it. But at the end of the day, this is very much a back to basics, practice the basics, and making sure you're purposeful about your practice to develop these kind of skills so they're on autopilot. And, beyond that, I would encourage you to just be purposeful in how you use your time, period, as a recruiter otherwise. So that's the 4 S's. I unexpectedly was the leadoff hitter, so I hope, Dan, this helped out. I didn't chase everybody off the camera here. We will overcome our audio technology limitations one way or the other. So I appreciate everybody's time and really just the opportunity, Dan. You guys are really doing a great thing building community here.
Oh, we're rising up for